Hey guys, I want to talk about how this AI-powered app is a bit dodgy, and to be honest, the whole direction these AI image generators are going are on a slippery slope. As a quick disclaimer, this video is not against anyone who's been using these types of apps and sites testing them out. Everyone has the right to do so, and it's up to each person on what they want to do. This video is an artist response and critique on how the developers behind AI image generators need to take a step back and review where this is going and how it impacts artists. Now, first off, my general views. AI was amusing at first. It was interesting to see what machine learning can be capable of, and a lot of the time it produces funny results that we can all laugh at. And that's been one of the main purposes behind my test videos. If people couldn't already tell, in my videos I've been messing about with typing in some absolute nonsense and seeing what it will come up with, especially when it creates things like this. I make a point about how it's interesting yet silly, while at the same time I express concerns. And based on the humorous results, it cannot outdo what humans are able to achieve, simply because of how nuanced and specific we are when we make design decisions. It was an opportunity for us to also have a point of inspiration, to entertain ideas and variations of something we otherwise might not have thought of, and pushing the boundaries of what's possible. You're probably thinking, well, so far so good. However, for me, the point it started to shift was when I was reviewing Stable Diffusion and DALL-E 2, where it started creating increasingly better images. And I don't necessarily mean better as in good, I mean it's worrying how convincing these images are getting. It was entertaining when it's bad, but when it gets so advanced you begin to question whether an artist made it or a machine did, then that's where it takes the piss. Apps like Lensa concern me and many artists. I was first introduced to this by seeing people who I'd like to create art for begin posting images of themselves from images created using this app. And at first glance I thought it was some fan art, but it was when I read the caption and took a closer look at the images that I realised it was created by AI. I was surprised and a bit disheartened. Now, the style of these images created from this app I don't think is particularly new. There's always been filters which turn you into a particular style of art, a lot of them being augmented reality based and some more rudimentary than others, and for a long time it wasn't really of concern. And I think a lot of us weren't too bothered for a while, given how the results were usually quite primitive and at times daft. But the landscape of this has changed very quickly in the span of a year and even a few months. Lensa in some iteration or another has supposedly been around for several years, but only recently with Magic Avatars it became much more widely known. In fact, it uses a version of Stable Diffusion, which explains why the results have been so convincing. Features like this that can be so easily adopted and accessible has its consequences if we don't carefully review and address the ethics and impacts this could have on the art industry. People have also noticed the problem going further, such as the sexualized, racial and stereotypical issues these generators have, which if anything gives more weight behind the idea that a serious conversation needs to be had about these technologies. One of my concerns were that these type of technologies could spark an emergence of fake artists, offering services to create images this way and profit from it while running the risk of profiting off other artists, or for companies to become less inclined to hire real artists and resort to artificially generated images for their commercial uses. If people rely too much on AI, it has the potential to negatively impact the value of what real artists can bring. And that's why artists need to be part of this conversation, to be consulted on how they think such technologies are used and how far it goes. At the same time, we don't want to hinder any advancement in technology. I'm sure a lot of people in fact find these apps and sites quite fascinating, but with that intrigue also comes a level of uncertainty and apprehension. There should always be a way to adapt and incorporate technology in a method that does not undermine the value and importance of human creativity and artistry. AI, if done carefully and ethically, has potential to lead to all kinds of breakthroughs that can help artists. But the question is, at what cost and to what end? And the way it's going so far is leaning more towards being at the expense of artists. As mentioned before, if these artificially generated images get so convincing that it's difficult to distinguish if an artist created it or not only does that diminish the value of what artists are capable of, but it begins to encourage people not to employ artists if they can do this themselves by uploading a few pics, adjust a few sliders and typing a sentence. Obviously at a limited capacity in its current form, but you can see that the risk is there. An example of it being useful would be allowing for the development of new features for art creating applications that can assist us with tasks that are otherwise time consuming or labour intensive, such as using AI to sharpen and restore low quality images, the content aware tools like in Photoshop, or on a funnier note, even an uncrop tool.
Uncrop. Wait, what's that?
that has its benefits. For instance, if you needed an extra centimetre or two of context around your artwork and need an efficient way of doing it, although bearing in mind that these features should ideally be used in a limited and supportive role. It's also been noted that AIs have effectively been stealing artists' content, because machine learning relies on publicly available images, and that doesn't necessarily mean that the work has been voluntarily submitted, nor does it mean that the work is in the public domain. It's sourced without consent, which is a problem. It means artists are at the risk of their style being implemented in artificially generated images that can then be used for profit and claimed as someone else's. It doesn't stop there. Even people's likeness can be taken from anywhere it's already been posted online, which forms another discussion entirely. ArtStation has introduced a no AI tag that you can add to your work, which is meant to disallow these AIs from using it. How effective this is in practice, I don't know, although it's a small but a step forward in giving artists a bit more control, and I hope there are more ways to do something similar on other platforms, or preferably a more efficient and practical solution which perhaps has a way that offers some form of compensation. On a more optimistic note, I'm still confident that such AIs will never truly replace artists. The skills we have and how meticulous we are with every line and brushstroke we put down all comes from years of honing our craft and how we artistically express ourselves. The individual human element of creativity is something programming and machine learning cannot replicate. There's also still an opportunity for some course correction, for it to be used ethically and in a way that helps us in a limited and supportive capacity, as with every other new technology that's been widely adopted. There's got to be a way we can integrate it without the risk of undermining artists. Now, of course, it's up to the individual artist to decide on how they want to use technology in their work. Some artists may choose to use technology to enhance their creative process, while others may prefer to work with a more traditional method. This whole scenario is an example of how laws, regulations, and our mindsets cannot keep up with the pace of where these advancements in AI are going, and it's time developers and artists take a step back and have a really good think about what direction it will take moving forward. Now, I'd love to hear what you think of the current situation with AI and how it's impacting artists. What are your thoughts on Lensa, and what changes would you like to see? If you found this video interesting in some way, please consider giving it a like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.